Welcome to the Belly to Belly podcast, where we explore in-person business-to-business marketing. This episode is brought to you by Meet, the company that helps international companies exhibit at U.S. trade shows. Check them out at meetroi.com.
Welcome, everybody. And this is Belly to Belly, our podcast for Meet. And we're a company that helps international companies exhibit at U.S. trade shows. And the whole goal of this podcast is to really help you get the most out of your marketing and leverage really all the resources you have. And we're so delighted today to have Laura.hannan with us from Pitch121. Laura, welcome.
Thank you. Very nice to be here. Love to see you, Bill.
Oh, it's wonderful to see you. So when we got started talking, it sounded like you have had a bit of a role change, and now you're the director of client success, and you're a co-founder in the company. So what does a director of client success do? What's your job?
Right. Well, as you know, when you're a business owner, you're doing everything, right? But I am lucky to have a co-founder, Fergus Parker. So I lead on, well, it says it on the tin, it's the director of client success. So I do have an account manager who is managing sort of day-to-day tasks with clients, and I get to have the wonderful job of overseeing the strategy and just making sure that they get ROI. You know, it's as simple as that. So all that we're aiming for is for our clients to be happy and delighted and never cancel. And so obviously the job gets bigger and bigger over time because we're now in our beginning of our third year of business. And you know, the great thing about having this overview across lots of clients is that ideas come from everywhere. So you can really sort of, the platform changes, LinkedIn changes, the way that people are using and consuming content changes. And I get to do the innovative, fun stuff, you know, seeing what other people are doing, testing things, seeing what's working, and moving our product on.
So cool. It sounds like you think a lot like we think, and that is, you know, when we think about serving our clients, for us, it's really what our job is to assure that our relationship matures and is successful enough for the client to where they're a wonderful advocate for our services.
Yes.
And so that, you know, with that as our sort of true north, it becomes very easy to make decisions about what your service should be. It's very obviously very aligned with the right outcomes for your client, which it seems
and
like.
I bet your network is full of future advocates and current advocates.
Hopefully, and we'll get into that for sure, and certainly talking about your methodologies. But before we do, and just so everybody knows, that you know the real goal of this podcast is to help give you very useful information, and obviously to do that we want to have context in terms of the information we're sharing. So you and Fergus formed Pitch121 how many years ago?
Just over 2 years ago. Yeah,
cool.
So we're in our third year.
Excellent. And so what was the original impetus? What was it that caused you to do it?
Okay, so I've been in sales for years and years, as a sales practitioner. Fergus and I used to work on the same sales team. I'm looking at the date now to find out how many years ago it was, 14 years ago. And
you were just a teenager then.
Yeah. I was just a young thing. What happened? We were in a content marketing agency, and I think that what you see in Pitch121 is the mix of Fergus and I as salespeople, but selling an inbound marketing product. You know, we were selling content before content marketing was a phrase, and you will see those influencers coming into Pitch121. I think the thing that we discovered when we were working there, Fergus, by the way, ended up working there for over a decade and becoming CEO of the company. The thing that was really overwhelming to us, and because I went and worked for digital agencies after that, and then a tech startup after that, is that the time I worked at this content marketing agency was when I was the most effective at selling in terms of every quarter hitting my results. Why? Because we had telemarketers that would set up the meetings. Then I'm not concentrating on lead gen as well as closing, as well as delivering a client. And there is this, there's a book called Predictable Revenue, which I'm sure some of your listeners will know. And it's absolutely convincing that you shouldn't have your expensive salespeople, because salespeople are expensive, doing 360 sales. Obviously, telemarketing used to be effective and became less and less effective, and you need to adapt to how you're doing lead gen. But actually, the principle remains the same. That if you have your salespeople focused on just that part of the funnel, you're going to help them to avoid that roller coaster of great quarter. You're so focused on closing that you haven't done any lead gen, so the next quarter is awful. Right. And so that's basically what Pitch121 is based on, is working with in-house teams to make sure they've got a predictable funnel, that they've got new opportunities coming in.
And so your real focus is to develop the top of the funnel, is to continue to sort of drive new quality prospects into the top of the funnel.
Exactly. And we do have a funnel and we report on a funnel, but we think of it more like a network, because at any one time, 3% of your audience might be ready to buy. So what you can do is you can contact everybody and find those, just go, do you want to buy? Do you want to buy? Do you want to buy to everybody? And you'll find the 3% that want to buy. So that's a volume play, and it's okay if you don't mind slightly annoying 97% of your audience.
Right.
Which is okay if you've got more people you can throw in, but a lot of companies, they've just got a target list of dream clients. They don't want to just like throw it out and see what sticks, because actually what sticks could be somebody who's not such a great fit for you. Sure. So actually it's about taking much more care over a slightly smaller pool of people. And instead of going sell, you go, hey, can I help you out? What's going on with you at the moment? By the way, this is what we do. So I do believe in outbound, but I also believe in relationship buying, and not be outbound to the extent that, people might say, oh, it's not the right time for me. And you go, great, because that you've got a relationship enough. You can go back in 6 months' time, but just until then, stay front of mind. So you're on that short list when briefs are created.
That makes total sense. So, what then is thinking of Pitch121? What's the array of services that you all provide?
So we're looking mainly at 2 platforms, LinkedIn and email. Then we look at growing the network. So we will do lots of sort of soft touch points around LinkedIn, and then do a connection request. And we really want that to be as personalized as possible. There's a lot of unsolicited template looking connection requests coming out. So a lot of what we do is message creation, really bespoke messaging, and testing what works the whole time. And then once we've built the relationship on LinkedIn, we then we use our technology to be able to keep track on everybody. Are they considering booking with you? Have they said no for now? And then we know that if we send them an email, we're sending the right people the email, that they've got the relationship up to that level where you can say, hey, this is what I do. If I can help you at all, just let me know.
It seems like there must be a fair amount of strategic work that has to happen before you even sort of begin the effort on LinkedIn or on email, in terms of targeting the right people and or the right organizations and so on. Is that a fairly rigorous process to sort of build the target matrix?
Yeah, and so It is about the targeting, but it's also about the messaging that goes
Sure.
out to those people. So we have a process where we go through the service, the audience, like how you're perceived, like we had one today, a new client on board. We spent 2 hours on a content briefing, so we get a really deep. Get a really, really. Is the sound okay here?
Oh yeah, you sound fine.
Sorry. So you get a really, really deep understanding of how they're positioning themselves in the market against their competitors, and then understanding the complex target audience structure. So we would go out to. We definitely need to make sure we get the right accounts, but then within those accounts, we've got different job roles, different stakeholders that would be important. Some of them they would want to meet, some of them are influencers, and then perhaps there's a partner network as well as the direct approach. So we need to make sure that we're bringing all of that together. Now, Sales Navigator on LinkedIn is pretty good, but it doesn't quite do enough, so we've actually built a platform, so we've got every single person that is in our network to make sure that we know they've got a tag on them, so we know what kind of partner they are, or we obviously you've got the information in LinkedIn about industry, size, company, but there might be something really specific like the source. They came off a webinar, for example. So you can then put that into the messaging. But the most important thing is that you've got content and a reason to be in touch. So usually our strategy goes over the next few months. What events are you going to be at? How are we going to take this online relationship into an offline conversation? Because that's how sales happen. And then maybe bring it back onto online. So, we're actually helping clients with their content strategy, not to the extent that a content agency would, but just to say, okay, what have you got going on? Right, we can use that on LinkedIn, we can use that on email, we can promote that.
Yeah, those are all digital assets that can be leveraged, probably in multiple ways. So, that totally makes sense. And the idea of both developing very accurate targets, and I would imagine those evolve as your testing sort of happens, and then just as the messaging, I would imagine, evolves. So maybe one last question, then let's really dive into our topic. So the last question I have with regard to Pitch121 is who's sort of the best prospect or the best type of company for you to work with? What's the sort of sweet spot for you?
Yeah, it's an organization that has a very value-led proposition. So if it's more of a sort of commodity that you're selling, it's less interesting. I mean, we can do it, but I think that when you need to show your expertise, you need to educate, we need those kind of topics to talk about, and actually they're the hardest kind of sales to do, where you're taking people through a journey of discovery before you meet somebody. So usually it falls into 3 different brackets for us, and that is consultancies, tech companies. If somebody's doing something innovative, you've got, it creates a lot of interest on LinkedIn, and the other one is agencies.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So very much strategic and conceptual type sales that are less tangible in terms of
And I think the other thing that is the same with all of our clients is they know that what they're selling is not easy. Like basically, the tough sell will be the will be the partner that will take that on.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or we can be of any service. Like us if you'd like to stay in the know on current episodes.